Good day, hi and welcome. Alright, so that's what a barbecued dog looks like. It's too hot from a poor baby, eh? Alright, getting all kinds of stuff done today, even worked on the boat a little bit. And while I'm doing all that, I'm charging up the booster battery, but I'm going to charge this thing up, this battery up in a little bit, just to make sure it's completely topped up for tomorrow. Not going to go over all the issues I had with it today, but kind of was what it was. But I'm going to talk about something that we should never talk about. Speeding. Is it okay to speed, and should you speed? And are there reasons where you should speed? Well, I'm not talking about, you know, cracking the throttle and, lighting the tires and, kick the tires and light the fires type of speed. I'm talking about moving with traffic. There was a statistic that I seen, and it's an interesting thing, that when I'm following somebody, I usually obviously try to keep as safe a distance as possible. And I usually never am in the left lane unless I necessarily need to be. So in other words, I always try to follow the flow when I'm around. But sometimes it's a little dangerous to do that, especially if you gotta kind of do a whole bunch of things. Number one, you have to ride like you're invisible, like everybody's trying to kill you, because they are. And distracted driving has only gotten worse over the years, especially with cell phones now. When I used to have a motorcycle on the road, what I used to notice was people with hats never do shoulder checks. Women drivers were the worst for doing not doing shoulder checks. Just an observation, not bashing, just saying. But young lads always tailgated. Old people always drove too slow and were riding the brake too much. So you got your stereotype drivers out there and stuff like that. So you have to pay attention to all this stuff while you're going. And then, of course, there's everybody else out there. You've got those, 5 o'clock, angry man drivers that have to, they have to cut into the lane and constantly be ahead of everybody else. And they're always trying to cut ahead of somebody rather than just tuck in behind, which is much less stress. But, some people like that. They have to get ahead of everybody, race to the light. So the best thing to do is, if you don't want to get caught in traffic, is just do the speed limit, because everybody else speeds, right? But if you're going slow when everybody else is going fast, you've got a recipe for being rear-ended. So if there's, especially if the traffic's tight. So you have to kind of go with the flow no matter what. Even if it's a little fast, a little slow, whatever it is, you got to kind of go with the flow. But what do the statistics say? Well, statistics say, for motorcycles in particular, it kind of goes against your wisdom, but if you're about 5 miles per hour thereabouts, or just kind of like a crawl speed faster than the traffic, you tend to be safer. There's like a curve where, if you've got too much or not enough speed, your likelihood of an accident is like way high. The more you follow the flow of traffic, you're somewhere there. But if you're going just slightly faster, you actually have a lower risk of getting into an accident. And then if you're going really fast, your risk goes back up again, because then you run into people, right? So yeah, it's not that I'm saying you should speed, but what I'm saying is when you're following traffic. And I got the statistics from MC Ryder. If you haven't checked out his channel's absolutely phenomenal. And he was showing that statistic stuff. And if it makes you a safer rider, and it kind of goes against for me, distance is life. I had friends that I used to ride with, and they would ride 30 feet behind the next guy's bumper and wonder why they got cut off all the time. I rarely get cut off, and when I do, I usually see it coming. But sometimes when I don't see it coming, I still have enough of a safety margin that at least I can do something with it. Because up here, it's pickup trucks. The guys in the pickup trucks, they drive in the center of the line, over the center line. They always have to do 140 everywhere they go. They'll pass you on a double line. Just stuff like that. And it's that ego thing of some guys that are out there. Women don't do that. It's the guys that do that. Sometimes the women do, but most of the times it's a guy, he's got an F350 or whatever, and he has to show you how much more power he has. And I don't care that they pull out and pass you. It's just like they cut in like inches from your bumper. So one thing I do is, if I'm on a double line Okay, I'm usually riding close to the line unless the oncoming traffic I move over. But when you move over now, you can't. People on the other side can't see you as much, so you got to move where people are going to be. Sometimes they do, but depending on how close they're following each other. When the traffic's really tight the other way, the guy behind the guy that you're about to pass can't see you coming, right? So there's that. And if you're going a little bit fast, a little too close to the other guy. Again, you run into that problem again where now you're too close to the guy ahead of you and the guy behind you's tailgating you. So you got to compensate for that somewhere. By going a little bit faster, it allows you to just slowly get around some of the traffic. But it depends what lane you're in. I'm not a fan of the left lane at all because where's all the exits? On the left, right? That's where you got your double exits. Sometimes you have double exits on the right, but a lot of time it's just, okay, you just turn right, you don't have to worry about it. But do I got to be in this lane, that lane, and the guy's all over the place, last minute, whatever. So if you're going a little bit faster than then you're not right beside them. So I don't think it's the speed, I think it's where your lane position is. So where I would say that why this probably happens, why you have a lower risk going approximately 5 miles per hour faster, which would be 8 kilometers an hour faster than the traffic, is probably because you're less likely to be beside a vehicle. So if you're behind a vehicle, you can't control the guy ahead of you, but you can kind of sort of control the guy behind you. The problem is the guy behind you paying attention. So you have to kind of watch your mirrors, see if they're on. So if they're on a cell phone, switch lanes. It just because it's that split second of let me look for my paper, and then bang, they're right into you, right? So if you see people in the mirror on a cell phone, yeah, even if you have to go to the other lane, let them go by and come back in again, do that, whatever, or just creep past the other vehicle, whatever it is, do stuff like that. I'm more worried about the guy behind me than the guy ahead of me, but the guy ahead of me, you have to pay attention to him too, because especially those kind of, I don't know where I am and my GPS isn't working kind of people. GPS, I think, get more people into accidents because they have no intuitiveness to find things by themselves. They rely solely on the GPS, and it'll tell them to turn here. It'll turn right into you. But the trick is never be beside a vehicle any longer than you have to be. Even if you're in a blind spot, which is bad enough, if you know you're in somebody's blind spot, take mental note of that they're not going to see you. Don't leave your safety in their hands if you can help it. But what you can do, like I say, if you're I guess why the statistic works out the way it does is that it's because you're not beside vehicles as much and it gives you a place to go. But when you're following the traffic at the same speed, again, if you have nobody beside you, then you're probably just as safe. But it's when you're really boxed in and you have no place to go. That's when the bad things probably most likely to happen. That's my estimate anyway. But I'd say, yeah, if it's statistically a little bit safer to go a little bit faster. I'm not talking cruising, ripping fast. And even with the lane splitting, like we don't have that up here in Canada. Even if it was legal, I don't think I'd do it. I don't know. Like lane splitting, yes, the statistics says it's safer to a degree, but I don't know. I really don't know about that. Like, how do you measure that? Because I guess the way they must do it is the states that have lane splitting, they're showing probably safer because, again, the motorcycle, there's nobody behind you to rear end you. You're always moving. And, again, you're moving past in between the traffic. But like anything, if you're going like 35 miles an hour between the cars, somebody decides to pull out, you're done. But if you're just creeping along at like 5 miles an hour, maybe 10 tops, at least you'll survive if you hit something. But you're more likely or less likely to hit something. But even at that, I don't know if I would do lane splitting even if it was legal. It's the same thing with the helmets. Even if it even if we didn't have to wear helmets, I'd still wear one. Again, just watch a couple of accident victims, you'll understand why. There's no guarantees, but it's just. It's that low speed stuff will get you too. And most accidents are at low speeds, at intersections. The dreaded left-hand turn is the big one. But yeah, you guys, what do you think about that? Look into it. Again, I'm not saying, go like break the law. I'm saying that the statistics show that, and we know everybody outspeeds, so just doing about 5 miles per hour faster than them seems to do well. Now, mind you, that's I can imagine in flowing traffic. But when you're like out in the open road or whatever, just do the speed limit, you know. Or if you can have like 2 car lengths ahead of you and nobody's cutting in front of you, you know, just do the speed limit. Again, distance is life. So the further that bumper is away from you ahead of you, and the further that bumper is away from you behind you, the better they are. And the less, when there's no vehicles beside you, it's the vehicles beside you that tend to cut in. Even if they look, they see you there, but they don't register that they're looking at a motorcycle sometimes. And it's a split-second thing, so you don't want to be beside vehicles as much as possible. So I guess maybe that's why it works out that way. But anyway, yeah, you guys tell me what you think. Yeah, there you go. Have a great day.